What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the part 2 of ranking detectives on their chances of catching Dexter Morgan. And since the last video did so good, I decided, hey, let's do a part 2, but with the characters that you suggested from the last video. A lot of people suggested Patrick Jane, Alex Mahone, Rustin Cole, so I brought you these characters and more. So without further ado, let me explain the tiers so you understand what we're ranking. Coming in at S tier is they would put Dexter behind bars, which means they would lock Dexter up. They find out Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher, which means they would find out his secret, but they wouldn't gather enough evidence to actually put Dexter behind bars. They would have their suspicions of Dexter, which means they would think that something's off with Dexter, but they wouldn't know that Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher, and they wouldn't put him behind bars. And last but not least, we have end up on his table, which, yeah, they're gonna die. So starting off with a complete bang, we have Patrick Jane from The Mentalist. Now Patrick Jane has very, and I mean very good observational skills and has a absolute great deep understanding of human behavior. He would, in my mind, have no doubt of uncovering that Dexter is in fact the Bay Harbor Butcher. Unlike the FBI or Miami Metro, who were either misled by Dexter's deception or to focus on forensic evidence, Jane relies on reading people, catching very small inconsistencies, and manipulating them into revealing the truth. Dexter may be a skilled liar, but even he has unconscious tells, and Jane would definitely spot them. At first, Jane would most likely find Dexter intriguing rather than immediately suspicious, because Dexter presents himself as an awkward, mild-mannered, blood-spattered analyst, someone who blends into the background almost too well. But Jane would notice that Dexter doesn't react to situations the way a normal person would. His emotional responses are always off. His social interactions really feel forced. I mean, if you watch the show, they're completely forced, I'm not gonna lie. And the way he approaches crime scenes is literally not normal whatsoever. Even James Stokes says, "You give me the creeps, you know that, right, Dexter?" And as we all know, that obviously wouldn't be enough to accuse him, but it would push Jane to dig even deeper. Unlike someone like Dokes or traditional FBI agent, Jane wouldn't aggressively confront Dexter. Instead, he would play mind games, because that's what Patrick Jane is good at, playing mind games. And playing mind games is really the way to capture Dexter, I feel like, to be honest. He could be subtly testing him, setting conversational traps, and waiting for Dexter to slip up. He might casually bring up vigilante justice, killers who believe that they're doing the right thing. Dexter, who is used to controlling conversations and staying ahead of his opponents, might not even realize when he's revealing too much. The biggest challenge would be finding solid evidence, because as we've seen in The Mentalist, Patrick Jane does catch Reg on, but he doesn't have enough evidence to put him behind bars, so he just kills him. Since Dexter doesn't really leave any proof behind whatsoever, but then again, Jane doesn't necessarily need direct evidence. He just needs to push Dexter into making a mistake. He might use psychological manipulation to draw Dexter into a situation where his need to kill becomes exposed. So in the end, how I see this playing out, Jane wouldn't try to catch Dexter in the act. He would create the conditions for Dexter to expose himself. And to say the least, to be honest, I have Red John over Dexter 110%. And Patrick Jane automatically could find out Dexter is the butcher. And I feel like with enough time, he can definitely put Dexter behind bars. I truly think so. Next, we have Alex Mahone from Prison Break. So Alex Mahone is an FBI agent, and he's very skilled in tracking fugitives. So I feel like he would have a strong chance against Dexter. However, his approach would be very different from someone like Patrick Jane. Mahone is relentless, obsessive, and methodical. Once he locks onto a target, he doesn't stop at all. He does whatever he needs to catch them. If he were assigned to the Bay Harbor Butcher case, he wouldn't just investigate Dexter, he would literally hunt him like he does. Literally like James Stokes, and we all know what happened to James Stokes when he hunted Dexter. So at first, Mahone might not immediately suspect Dexter. On the surface, Dexter appears to be nothing more than just an awkward but intelligent and seemingly harmless. As Mahone digs deeper, he would start noticing inconsistencies. Too many killers vanish before facing justice, certain crime scenes seem too perfect, and evidence feels staged rather than naturally occurring. And Mahone has spent years tracking down criminals who manipulate the system. He would also recognize the signs of someone working behind the the scenes to control an investigation. Once Dexter is on Mahone's radar, things would escalate fast. Mahone would apply relentless pressure, watching Dexter's every move, analyzing his behavior, and pushing him into making a potential mistake. But to be honest, Mahone has a weakness that Dexter could exploit. His past struggles with addiction, his impulsive nature, and his obsessive tendencies make him really vulnerable. Now, Mahone kind of reminds me of James Stokes. Now, Mahone is definitely smarter than James Stokes, but because I feel like when Dexter knows that Alex Mahone is onto him, I feel like he could just do the same thing that he did with Stokes, but obviously it wouldn't be easier. This one's kind of hard. I think he would find out that Dexter is a Bay Harbor butcher. Yeah, we'll leave it like that, because if James Stokes can, then I feel like Alex can. 110%. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Next, we have Detective Loki from Prisoners. Now, Loki in Prisoners actually has a crazy track record. He solved every single case except the one that he was tasked to in the movie. And to be honest, in the movie, the case that Loki was assigned to is nothing like the Bay Harbor butcher case whatsoever. If Loki couldn't crack that case, then he is never cracking the Bay Harbor butcher case. So to be honest, I don't even think this is a debate, to be honest, whatsoever. Detective Loki, 110%, I feel like he definitely ends up on Dexter's table without a doubt. Next, we have Jim Gordon. So Jim Gordon has spent his career dealing with Gotham's most dangerous criminals, many of whom hide behind masks of respectability. Now, Dexter may be skilled at covering his tracks, but Gordon has gone up against masterminds like the Riddler, Two-Face, and even the Joker. He knows how to catch a criminal who believes they're untouchable. At first, Gordon might not immediately suspect Dexter. He would see him as an intelligent, if socially awkward, forensic analysis. Someone who appears dedicated to solving murders rather than committing them. But over time, certain details probably wouldn't sit right for Gordon. I feel like he would see through Dexter's facade. Like, why is Dexter always near the most brutal crime scenes? Why does he seem so emotionally detached from death whenever that comes into play? And why do some criminals connected to Miami Metro disappear without a trace? But even though Gordon has gone up against some of Gotham's most wanted, he doesn't necessarily catch them. And Dexter is different from Gotham's villains. Those villains are known for their crimes. Dexter isn't. He's a secret vigilante. Like in real life, if we had a Dexter, no one would know that we have a Dexter. So I don't think Gordon would ever find out that Dexter is the butcher, and I don't think Dexter would even kill Gordon, to be honest. I feel like he would respect Gordon because of what he does to clean up the streets in Gotham. So to be honest, I don't even necessarily think they would hate each other. Even if Jim Gordon, well, I mean, I can't say that. He definitely still would try to book Dexter because Gordon does everything by the books. He is 100% about the law, so Gordon wouldn't let that slide. But to be honest, I feel like Gordon would kind of respect it a little bit. Not gonna lie, that he's cleaning up the streets. So I feel like he would just suspect Dexter that something maybe is off about him, but I don't think he would know that Dexter is a actual killer. Next, we have Columbo. So Columbo excels at solving cases where the killers believe that they are untouchable, just like Dexter. His entire approach relies on appearing harmless while slowly picking apart the truth. I mean, just look at him. He's such a cute little guy. He looks completely harmless. Now, this is why I love Columbo. He's a detective that is so different in the world of detectives. Dexter may be skilled at covering his tracks, but Columbo has spent his entire career exposing criminals who thought they committed the perfect crime. At first, Dexter likely wouldn't see Columbo as a real threat. To him, the detective would seem like a forgetful, absent-minded investigator who rambles about his wife and fumbles with his cigar. But that's exactly how Columbo operates. He lets his suspects lower their guard while he subtly dismantles their entire facade. Columbo would notice contradictions in Dexter's statements, unnatural reactions to crime scenes, or a pattern in the Bay Harbor butcher's killings that doesn't fit a typical serial killer. Columbo's greatest strength is his persistence. Like, this guy does not give up at all. He wouldn't come at Dexter aggressively. Like, he would simply keep showing up to Miami Metro saying, "Hey, one more question, please, Mr. Dexter?" Like, he would poke holes in Dexter's cover story, forcing him to come up with new explanations on the spot. And every visit those explanations would start to unravel. Dexter is used to staying one step ahead of law enforcement, but to be honest, he is not staying a step ahead of Columbo. Let's be real here, guys. Columbo's strategy is deceptively simple. He just keeps asking questions. He acts confused, encourages the suspect to talk, and waits for them to make a mistake. I think Columbo is putting Dexter behind bars, and I put him over Patrick Jane as well. Next, we have our boy Rustin Cole. So as we all know, Dexter presents himself as a socially awkward person, someone who operates on pure logic. But to Cole, that kind of emotional detachment would be a red flag. His ability to deconstruct a person psychologically would quickly reveal that Dexter isn't just introverted. There's something calculated, something hollow beneath the surface. Over time, I feel like he would start piercing together a profile, one that doesn't just suggest that Dexter knows more than he lets on, but that he actually might be the Bay Harbor Butcher. And also, Cole's other greatest advantage that he has on his detective doings is that he doesn't play by the rules. He wouldn't wait for Dexter to slip up. He would literally trail him at night, search his home without a warrant, and make connections no one else considered. Dexter is used to staying ahead of law enforcement, but with Cole, nah, he's gonna break the law. He's the law enforcement that's gonna break the law to get justice. But Dexter has dealt with someone who didn't play by the rules. Dokes. So with this experience that Dexter has, I feel like he would be at high alert, and if he found out that Rust was onto him, I feel like it would be over. Yeah, 110% he's going in. They would find out that he's the butcher, but I don't think he would have enough evidence to put it behind bars, because even if he does obtain illegal evidence, it wouldn't work in a court of law. So yeah, this is my tier list. What do you guys think? W or L?